and everything about the ship, which Mara is part of,
Yes.
as well as Uldwin and um, I'm going to
Osana?
say Osana,
Yep.
Onasa or Osana. I'm going to have to look that one up real quick. And then there's the portion of the ship that is the rest of it, which is 40,000 people in cryostasis.
Yes. This is the colonists that are
That
going
is
to.
the ship's quote unquote cargo.
Yes. Yeah. So in her position, she is responsible for technology on the ship, biology of the cargo of the ship, and behavior of the crew. And this was an interesting point. They have people that are dedicated, and not in the way that you would think of like a therapist or a psychiatrist or a sociologist even. They have people that monitor the behavioral patterns of the crew to adjust them if need be to make sure that those behaviors are going to lead to a successful mission or the highest chances of a successful mission.
Even if those behaviors could be defined in morality as bad,
Yes.
if that behavior pattern fits the purpose of the mission and increases the success chance of the mission, that behavior pattern is just, for lack of a better term, accepted and allowed to continue.
Yes. And we're gonna elaborate on that, but I think it's important to pull away from just Mara for a second and look at her brother and mother.
Absolutely.
So looking at Aldwin at this point in time, that's his name. He is described as someone that measures himself by the bravery of his losses. He values himself by what he can survive losing, which is not the way that I think most people would tend to go. It's less about I want to triumph over this thing, and it's more about I survived that.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way to look at it, and I think it even now informs his current character a little bit. I feel like we see some of that personality.
Which to me is an interesting thing to think of as far as like us as guardians being risen from a past life that we have no memory of, but then like that whatever innate thing on a subconscious level that drives us as a person or drives us as a being forward through life is something that can be carried over into being a guardian.
Whatever the chemistry of the brain or the, you could argue the spirit of that person is that
Sure.
gives them their personality seems to bleed over from their original life to their resurrected life. And we've seen other examples of that. Getting off topic just a little bit, there's been descriptions of Zavala prior to, when he was just an Awoken.
Sure.
And him meeting other Awoken after resurrection and them describing him as mostly the same personality-wise.
Yeah.
And there's some other records as well. So it just kind of supports that, like, the personality is ingrained.
Right, like is that like it could could this lead to the conclusion that there is a soul and that soul is on a subconscious level part of that physical being?
I think that's a different episode.
I know we're getting
because we could spend a whole bunch of time on that. So going back to Aldwin, so yeah, he measures himself by what he's able to survive, not necessarily by what he's able to overcome. And his relationship with his sister is interesting. It's not. originally when I thought of Aldrin and Mara, especially after Forsaken, I always saw him as like the kind of needy little brother type,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
trying to impress his sister, or trying to live up to the image of his sister.
Sure.
And I do think he has a need to make a connection because she's always kept him at arm's length.
Yep.
However, I don't think it's quite as drastic as what like maybe Forsaken makes it appear. I don't think he has a sister complex kind of thing.
Yeah. No. I think it's more of a it's more of just like that's his only family. I mean,
Yes.
obviously they have their mother, but and this is again jumping ahead. Eventually, it's just the two of them, and so that's he's clinging to this sense of family now, rather than like
Yes.
I need to impress you because you're my queen. It's yeah.
Yep. No, I think that's a big part of it. So, I say he and Mara have a very interesting way of communicating with each other. And I think this, because we got to remember, the Mara we know, unlike the Aldrin/Aldwin that we know, she has memory of everything that has happened since now,
Everything.
since what we're talking about.
Everything.
And even here, even in these earliest days, we can see some of her philosophies in how she communicates with her brother. So they never answer each other. They never answer each other's questions directly, and that's a very intentional decision by Mara. She says that she thinks words are just a bad form of encryption, and if you really want to communicate with someone, you need to have your own one-to-one crypto system. So essentially, she doesn't believe that spoken words in a traditional form truly can ever mean what they're trying to mean.
Just because of like hidden undertones and stuff like that. Like saying one word in a different tone could mean something totally different, but even that meaning of that word to one person can be interpreted by another person completely differently. And
Yes,
that's where I feel like she doesn't like that openness to interpretation. I think she wants everything to be a very
yes.
exactness to it. She wants that perfectness.
And that idea will come back around when we're in the distributary, so I want to hold
Mm-hmm.
on to that.
Yep.
But I think that's exactly it. I think she wants to communicate in a way that is very, very clear and cannot be misinterpreted. And if it can't be communicated in that way, or shouldn't be communicated in that way, it's not worth communicating at all, in her opinion.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, we know a little bit about Alduin. He's on the ship this entire time. And so going back to Mara, Mara has this little habit of going on spacewalks, whether she's supposed to or not. And not only just going on spacewalks, but going on spacewalks and then doing the most dangerous fucking shit.
Well, and not just going on spacewalks, literally living outside the ship.
Yes. Yeah.
Literally
She spends more
living
time
on the
outside than inside
hull
the
of
ship.
the ship. Yeah, like that's.
During one of her walks, she's described as going out in her suit, which is tethered to the ship, and they have like a gel that forms a membrane around them within the suit. And she's
That's
described.
one thing I was trying to figure out too. Is the suit itself the membrane, or is that like an interface between the two?
I think it's just an interface. I don't believe it's a the gel is separate from the suit,
Okay.
because she's described as disengaging the suit and stepping out into the void of space with nothing but this gel barrier between her and the void, and it's it's meant to keep her alive. It's freaking out. It's like going down her throat to pump oxygen into her lungs, out from the gel into her lungs directly. It's like it's trying to pressurize the area around her. Like it's freaking out for a good 10 to 15 seconds.
Like, keep her skin from reacting to the
to keep her alive.
The vacuum of space.
But
she's doing all this while they're at like light speed.
Yeah, no, she's purely relying on the gravitational force of the ship to keep her from just hurtling away.
Yeah.
And she does this multiple times, and I don't want to say adrenaline junkie, because I don't think that's truly what it is. It's almost like that's the only place she can feel at peace, is when she's as close as possible to just the void of space.
Sure. Is it the void of space she's trying to get closer to, or is it like is it more of a, for lack of a better term, is she like suicidal, like not wanting to be there? Is it she's trying to get closer to death, or she's trying to get closer to just the void of space?
I don't think it's a suicidal tendency. I don't think she's trying to like get close to death, because she describes looking out on all of the stars and all of the the thrusters of the ship, and she describes all of this as like having a intricate beauty and being this almost sacred place to her is the feeling I got.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a suicidal thing. I think it is a reverence for the solar system, for the cosmos, that she's trying to get as close as she can to it.
Because I think that's another myth that I don't know if that's a common myth, but I think a lot of people have thought of her story as like she's doing this because she doesn't want to live anymore. She's accepting death and
I don't think that's the case personally. That's not how
I'm kind of with you on this one. I say I'm kind of with you. I really am. I'm 100% with you on this one. I think it is that reverence that there is beauty in nothingness.
Yes. Yeah, that's the feel I got. So while she's out on these spacewalks, she knows that what she's doing, A, is very dangerous, and but the sights she's seeing are very desirable. And so
because of course there's a black market on any ship.
Yeah,
and
there's contraband.
They want things that they can't have.
Yeah, and in this case, the things they can't have are pictures being taken from the outside of the ship. So she's taking these photographs.
The purest form of these pictures, like
yes, not
as
through a window.
Not through any type of interface between, as if you were there, as if you were in the vacuum of space and able to just observe it in an instance.
So she's recording this information. She's taking these photographs, quote unquote, while she's out there, so that when she does return to the ship, she can either her or via her brother, in most cases, can trade these for different items that she may think she needs. Spare parts for things, or any project that comes to mind for her. I think a lot of the stuff she gets is specifically to enable her spacewalks, but they never really specify what she does with what she gets.
Well, there's another thing too that relates to her job. She is, and again that word that they use to describe her, I'm just going to say like a tech level 2, for lack of a term. But she's a tech level 3, and when a problem arises, she is a tech level 3 is supposed to go find it and then report back to like her tech level 2, which is the guy above her. He then goes off, gets the tools, gets whatever they need to fix it, brings it back to her. She goes and fixes it, and then it's done. She doesn't like that hierarchy. No. She just wants to, like, she finds a problem and she'll just go fix it. And then in that sense, the crew, she's kind of started this, like, not quite a cult of personality around her, but like this thing of secrecy around her, like, oh, she's magic. She can fix things without having to whatever. So I think it's a combination of stuff. I think she's trying to get more things to do more dangerous spacewalks, to get the rarer photos to further to kind of create that perpetual loop, and to just get supplies to where she can just like kind of like without purposefully, because that's one thing that she states when she's caught. She's like she's not purposefully trying to do this. She just doesn't like the bureaucracy of having to go tell someone else, hey, I need a tool for like, hey, I need a screwdriver, and then he goes, okay, well, let me go back to the shop that's 16 miles away, and I'll go get you a screwdriver. She just wants to carry around a screwdriver with her and fix the damn thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting when I was reading the bits about her being kind of this problem solver on the ship, and the fact like. The way that I interpreted it is it reminded me actually of old Celtic and Irish myths, specifically around the Fae and fairies.
Okay.
The way that it was described, or the way that I took it, was that it's not necessarily even that people would come to her and say, I have a problem, and she would just fix it. It was that she would know problems existed and fix them and be gone before people even realized there was an issue, until after they saw her fix.
Which that kind of speaks to her sixth sense, her connection there.
Yeah, and the feeling I got was very much of the Fae or fairy, where it's kind of a like they flit into existence to do a thing and they flit out, and because of that, because of the fact that they kind of ghosted in and did a thing and ghosted away without much recognition, it builds this mystique around them. It builds this this feeling of otherworldliness, and she did it long enough and with enough things that's exactly what happened. She became seen as a wise and somewhat magical figure among the crew, because she always seemed to know when problems were happening.
Hang on.
Dog
Whopper
break.
Whopper decided that was the time to go nuts. Come here, Whopper. The ice maker went off, and so Whopper's lost her mind over it.
Oh no.
Yeah, go
Scary
figure.
fridge.
Come here, Whopper. Yeah. Go lay down. Okay. Continue.
So she's become known amongst the crew as this wise and magical type figure, because she has the sixth sense to just know when things are wrong or going to go wrong, kind of flits in, deals with it without needing recognition, without needing to even acknowledge anybody else, and then is gone just as quick.
Right.
And this starts to form this opinion of her starts to change from wise to magical to borderline deity. People start to truly think that she is something otherworldly.
Which that to me is where like that's that dangerous line of like a cult of personality versus like this is a god. Like this is that's that dangerous line to thread. And with her being a behavior specialist on the ship, that's kind of a that's kind of a questionable thing.
It's never explicitly said, and she says that she doesn't intend for this outcome.
Right.
However, she is in the exact position to know how to make that outcome happen.
Yeah.
So, maybe this is all part of her plan. I don't know. That's overreaching a little bit, maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Sure.
But regardless, what equates to a cult or somewhat a light religious following.
I like that term.
Yeah. Starts to form around her, and her mother takes notice. And Osana, tells Mara that
it is Osana. Osana is
okay.
Right. That's
okay.
what I found.
I'm gonna blame my keyboard typo on
That's
Osaka.
fine.
So,
Osaka, for those of you who don't know, is a region in Japan that no.
Keep going.
So,
Yeah.
oh no, oh no.
God damn it! It's with those little blue flames, isn't it?
Yep.
Damn it.
That's where they lead.
That's where they lead. They all lead to. Damn it! I'm so screwed. All right, continue.
Okay.
Asana doesn't like her
No.
religious
No.
following thing that she's doing.
She
Unintentionally doing.
Yeah, yeah. She recognizes that Mara has a power over people. Just by her personality, she has a power over people. And so she does what she's supposed to do as a member of the crew, and reports this anomaly to the captain of the ship. And say the relationship between her and her mother is not traditional mother-daughter. It is much more loose. It's much more like they never seem to have a familial connection. It's more of they have a friendship, but her mother and I, unfortunately I didn't write down the exact line, says something along the lines of like, I can be your friend or I can be your mother, but if I'm going to be your friend, I'm going to have to be able to make my own decisions about you. And this was one of them. She's reporting to the captain that this cult has formed around her daughter, and that it's something that the captain needs to be aware of to potentially deal with.
Yeah.
And so they meet with the captain of the ship, who is Alice Lee.
I think I found the line you're talking about. If you don't want to be my daughter, I can't watch over you like a mother would. I can't put you first like a mother would. I will always be your friend, but I have to make my own choices too.
That's the one. Yeah. So it seems to imply almost that Mara rejects the idea of a mother-daughter relationship, and so
Yeah.
Osana just tries to form whatever connection she can with
Sure.
her. But so they go to the captain. Alice Lee is the captain of the ship, and the captain says that essentially she has known what's going on, and that Mara is seen as something of a minor divinity on the ship. She tells Mara that you were seen as something of a house god. If you were to die, the crew would lose something important, something human that they have created out of the loneliness in the void.
Which is
so
almost like the captain is not necessarily encouraging the behavior, but like looking at this as like this is a behavior thing that I'm not gonna deal with. I'm not going to deal with. I'm not going to intervene. I'm not going to try to break it up or anything.
Yeah. The captain's point seems to be that people need, especially when you're out in the void, you're out away from your homes, and all you have are the people around you, and a majority of them are sleeping in cryopods. Like the people are gonna feel isolated, and the home that they left is not something they're planning to ever go back to. You know,
Yep.
They're leaving the solar system for
good.
better or worse.
This colony is going to start a new humanity.
Yes.
But not even like a humanity. They're going to start a new
whatever they see as
whatever they deem to
after
call
humanity.
themselves next. Yeah.
So they the captain realizes that this part of this phenomenon is born of people wanting something higher than them to connect to, wanting a higher power that influences what's going on in their world, and that has become Mara in the crew's eyes.
Yep.
And that and the captain actually essentially tells Mara to be more careful, because whether she wanted it or not, no meme intended, she has become. I can't say that phrase and not think of that.
You can't. It's just impossible at this point.
Whether it was
it's
intended.
Literally in the that phrase is literally the phrase that Bungie has put into the UI when you go look at settings and you try to set your subtext settings. Yep. That is the phrase that's there. So even Bungie is like, we can't not acknowledge this. This is a thing now.
So the captain is telling her, you need to take better care of yourself because whether it was your intention or not, you are now seen as this mythical figure to all these people, and if something were to happen to you, it would crush them on a spiritual level. It would be as if they literally saw their god die. And that is not a phenomenon that the captain thinks the crew can survive.
Sure.
They think that would lead to just, it would lead to depression, it would lead to, just
mass
people
rioting,
thinking that...
Just everything just going to shit all at once.
So essentially tells Mara, don't be a dumb shit, don't do things that put yourself in danger. And so she immediately keeps doing things that puts herself in danger.
Right, she just goes right back out of the ship and she's like, well, I'm going to make another picture.
Yeah, if you're not going to stop me, I'll just do it. But the captain has a line, which I think is kind of cool. The captain says that she is always on the lookout for unique crew members. She's on the lookout to determine who amongst the crew can man the ship while the majority of people are in stasis. And it sounds like once they reach a certain threshold, even a majority of the crew that are awake currently are going to go into stasis while the ship rockets off to wherever it's going. Yeah. But there's going to be some that are awake at least part of the time. And
almost like a rotating shift type thing.
Yes, and the captain says that they're on the lookout for unique crewmates that could fill those positions, and describes Mara as someone who she thinks could be awoken while others sleep.
That line was the one that was like, I don't know how intentional that was on Lee's part, or if that was just like that beginning point, but that I found the line, and so I'm going to read this one, and and so like I said, they're in the captain's room with the mother, the daughter, and the captain, and they're all there, and the mother says, thank you for taking the time to speak to us. Of course, Lee studies them coolly. I keep an ear out for curious personalities, people who might be suited for long-term isolation while the rest of us are in cryo. People who awaken when others sleep. And that line right there, that people who awaken when others sleep, that's the one that stuck with me the most through that entire interaction.
So listening to you read that, spoilers a little bit, we'll talk on this later. The long-term isolation.
Yeah.
Also really comes into play.
Doesn't that just drive it home? Like that's like that. That's like that. All of that is like that. Like what?
Yeah. So we're gonna pin that. We're gonna pin that.
So and as a pin in that, just one last point before we move on.
Yep.
I'm curious if those two lines like sunk into Mara and drove it home, was like this is the driving force for Mara to do everything she's done after this point.
Maybe so, because as far as we know, those are the last words the captain speaks to Mara prior to the events of this distributary.
Right.
So there, life continues on the ship until the ship finds itself being chased by an unknown phantom. A anomaly in their scanners that is quite literally following them. and they
when
don't
they
know
speed
what
up,
to do about
it speeds up faster.
Yes, it is very clearly has the intent of following and catching them.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to decide, what do we do about this phantom thing that's following us, when they receive a very troubling alert. There's quite a bit of dialogue that happens here, so I'm gonna boil it down to the main points.
Yep.
The big thing is that the ship reaches out, or excuse me, the ship receives a transmission from Rasputin, and it says a sky shock event has been called, which is code for extrasolar, hostile extrasolar entities. And the entire Sol system has been placed under the command and control of the Rasputin Warmind.
Literally the entirety of everything that exists in the Sol system is now under martial law.
Yes.
And has been conscripted into wartime service instantly. And with that one event, that one sky shock event, boom, everything in the Sol system, no, it's got to turn around, head to home, and start gearing up for war, or be prepared to die on the way there.
Yeah, and Rasputin orders the Exodus Green ship, return to home, return to the system, so that we can use you as an auxiliary warship to lay siege fire wherever I tell you. And in that transmission, he essentially tells them it's a suicide mission.
Yeah.
He says, you will be used as artillery, and you're gonna have to burn all your fuel to get back to where we want you to be. It's probably gonna blow your engine, and if there's anything left of you by the time the dust settles, we'll go retrieve the survivors.
Because that's an important thing to note about this particular Exodus ship. Most of the other Exodus ships have been sent out with hardly anything, minimal supplies, minimal armament, nothing like this. This one was literally sent out
armed to the teeth.
Yes. This is for. They know that there are hostile. Rasputin knows, not just Rasputin, but all of humanity knows that there are hostile entities out there, and that this particular ship, in order to help whatever the initial mission was of create a new humanity home, or create a new humanity, or create a new whatever, it was going to need something to fight back with.
Yes. And not only something, it is described as being the bleeding edge of technology. They said, by comparison, the other Exodus ships are antiquated trucks.
Yep.
So this is... there
Most
is no better weaponry
tech of the
in the
time.
system.
We're talking height of the golden age, best and the brightest, all the greatest things. Nothing on the ship is older than a year. Everything is the best that the golden age could come up with.
Yeah. So, the ship now has a choice. What do we do? And the captain, rather than making a decision for the crew, puts it to a vote. Everyone that's currently awake on the ship gets a vote. Should we go back, or should we stay the course? And it talks a little bit about Mara and Alduin's feelings regarding that vote, which is a little surprising, to be honest, because Mara's initial feeling is that yes, they should return. She feels like they're fleeing. She feels guilty for bringing her and her family to the edges of the universe, for following, or the edges of the system, for following her omen. She feels guilty for not being there to help people that are clearly having a bad time back home.
Sure, absolutely.
And so she wants to vote yes. I don't know if she ever does. And Alduin is actually on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Alduin's like, to hell with this. We left for a reason.
Exactly. So the statement he says to her is, "They are staking everything on the Traveler, and we're out here to escape it. We won't save anyone if we return, and we don't owe them our lives. We don't owe them our dreams to try." So he's of the
He's
correct.
very much of the mindset, we are going to create a new humanity wherever we're going. Like this, we are not dependent on the Traveler. We don't need all of that fancy tech. We don't need all the craziness that the Travelers brought to the system. We are going to make it. We are going to make humanity its own thing somewhere else.
And I think it's a two-part. I think that is absolutely part of it, and that's why he's already referring to the Soul System as a separate group.
To try to distance them, to try to make it that is another entity. We are not them.
And in addition to that, I think he also, as it turns out correctly, surmises that if something has happened, that a Sky Shock event is called, and that Rasputin is desperately asking for weaponry at all costs, they're not going to survive through it anyway.
Because Rasputin, Rasputin as an AI, was, and I can't say programmed because that's the wrong word here, but for lack of a better term, programmed to respect human life. Like, it has a thing for human life. So for it to call everything back, knowing that they are 90% chance they're all going to die.
Yeah.
But still willing, still saying, stake everything on this. I need this much firepower to try to fix whatever's going wrong.
Yeah. So they have that little discussion. We're not told how either of them vote, but the crew as a whole votes to not return home. They vote to stay the course. And shortly thereafter, their Phantom catches up with them. And there was a lot of attempt to describe what was happening. And I don't know that it's probably easy to communicate what they were going for, but essentially all the stars in the universe blinked out from the ship's point of view.
Complete darkness, no light whatsoever.
No, they are just floating in inky, impenetrable black. And they're
constantly being bombarded by gravity waves that are stretching, and like the space between all of their atoms is getting infinitely more further apart, and in the same instance being brought infinitely closer together over and over and over again.
Exactly like another ship called the Glycon when it got close. When it got close to the anomaly that used to be Mars, to communicate with the darkness. Who would have guessed? So they're having these gravity pulses where they're being, molecularly stretched and compressed, and they know, everyone in the crew knows deep in their bones, they're not surviving this.
This is it. This is the end. This is death.
And they described the feeling of those pulses as not entirely unpleasant, though. Like it was an interesting mix. It was unsettling and it was painful, but at the same time it was blissful and gave you shivers, and it was, they described the lowest frequency on the biggest subwoofer ever built.
Yep.
So it wasn't just like a torturous sensation. It was a lot of things all at once. And this was a little tidbit that I noted. So because everyone kind of knows that this is it, a lot of them aren't even trying to formulate any kind of plan for survival. They're just letting their other impulses, mainly their scientific and their need to discover, take over in these moments. And one of the
Alice Lee is jumping from person to person trying to get readings, and her ship is just giving her gibberish. Like, the AI has no clue what the hell to do with any of this. As she's jumping person to person, they're just giving them just a very, very straightforward report until she gets to her science officer.
Yeah. And one science officer in particular mentioned something that I think is quite interesting. They mentioned that they are seeing sterile neutrinos throughout the ship. And sterile neutrinos, as we know them, are always in reference to the Taken appearing or having been somewhere, which just solidifies that the darkness is literally the power behind taking, and that taking uses dark energy.
Absolutely.
So I just thought it was a interesting little reference there.
I kind of this is kind of going outside the story and going to me as the person looking at the story. I wish that science officer had been named Ashramir. Like if they had just said that was Ashramir, I'd be like, all right, he's talking about sterile neutrinos and he's super excited about it and he's just like freaking out over it. Like that would have been perfect. That would have been awesome.
They don't say otherwise, so I'll believe it.
They don't. I'm going to say that was Asher right there, just losing his mind as the science officer of Alice Lee, going, "This is amazing!"
So Alice Lee trudges up enough people to build, because they have no outward communication to anything else. They've lost all contact with everything outside of the ship.
Because the darkness has cut off everything, like not just light, radio waves, everything. Nothing can get to or from the ship.
Every single thing on the known and unknown electromagnetic spectrum is dead.
Yep.
As soon as it hits the dark. So she makes a decision of, we can't.
And again, sorry for interrupting one more time.
Yep.
Which then leads kind of more cadence to the darkness is zeroed wavelength.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, but we get some additional support for both of our theories there here in just a minute.
Yeah.
But so the captain makes the decision, okay, it's a Hail Mary. We can't talk to anyone outside of this little dark bubble. Our internal communications still work, so we're going to build an antenna, essentially, a communications array that's going to use our internal communication system to broadcast something into the darkness instead of trying to go through it. And they do. They, kit bash something together, and the message that the captain broadcasts sets their idea of themselves in stone. That idea that we've been kind of flitting around the edges of. The captain finally sets it all in stone and says, we have seceded from human existence under the Traveler. We demand to be treated as a separate species, not part of humanity's conflicts. Treat us as a neutral party. We are not human.
We demand to, like, that's how ballsy of a move is that from the captain? Like, to just straight up be like, we're not human. We're an outside party. We have no qualms with you, and whatever you're going to do with humanity, fuck them. We're something else. Please leave us alone.
Yep. We are a neutral party. We no longer identify as human, essentially. Yeah. While the captain is broadcasting this, Mara is doing what Mara does and is out on a spacewalk.
Because of course she is. Because why wouldn't she be, right? Like the captain called for hey, everyone get back inside the ship, and Mara's just like, nah, I'm good. Nah.
So Mara's point of view, she also at this point very much believes that this is it, and she wants to, as she describes it, die in the starlight. She wants to go out on this spacewalk and let that be. Let the experience that she has always gone out there to find be the last thing that she feels. That
moment of bliss, that true connection with the void, with the universe.
So she's out on her spacewalk, and Alduin, of course, is getting ready to try and follow her to reel her back in. And she mentions, not to him, but kind of whispers to herself, a phrase that has rung true throughout the entirety of their relationship from this point forward, and it's that brother, you will lose yourself trying to follow me.
Yep.
And we see it repeated over and over. That's exactly what happens.
And
to him.
That's what I'm like. That's another thought that comes to me too. Is like, Aldrin now, again skipping forward a little bit. Aldrin trying to be that not necessarily like show off for the queen or show off for her sister, but connect to her and be the beacon to her, and her going, you will never be able to do that. You'll never be able to do it on a theological level, on a mental level, on a physical level, whatever. You will never be able to catch up to me. You'll never be able to get that back.
And in some ways, just touching on this side topic very, very quickly, in some ways I feel like his resurrection is almost a freeing of him from that cycle. Hopefully,
yes.
We don't know if he'll have additional interactions with the queen later on and what those will look like. But
oh man, I just had this revelation of like what happens if he meets her.
I'm under the impression she knows. She knows everything that's happened with him.
She knows everything. She knows everything.
But we'll leave that for another time as well.
That's another episode.
But by
next
virtue,
season question mark?
Next season,
maybe so. Maybe so. I really hope so, honestly. But so, yeah, by nature of him being resurrected and not having his memories and being able to form new relationships and make those familial connections with other people, I feel like is in a way kind of the best thing that could have ever happened for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay, back to the heliopod, back to the darkness, back to Mara out on the edge of the ship, pushing away from it, wanting to be one with the universe as her last moments, that she knows she's going to be alive and that she knows that this is it.
And she reaches out as far as she can go and touches this darkness. She makes contact, maybe not physically, but she makes contact with this void.
I imagine in my head is like every time I come up to Benny and I'm just like, Benny, boop. And she just goes out and she goes, darkness, boop.
Yes, that's exactly how it went down now.
That's canon now.
But she touches the darkness, she makes a connection, and she, in that sixth sense way, she knows its intent. She can't necessarily like read its mind and know its thoughts, but she knows what it intends to do, what its desired outcome is, and that desired outcome she describes as infinitely hostile, not because it wants to be, but because it has to be. Which I think is just a reflection on kind of what we were talking about, the whole sword logic of the darkness.
Yep.
It's not doing any of this out of malice. It's not doing any of this out of hatred.
It's doing it because that's the only thing it knows how to do. Like
it's doing this because
it has to follow that rule.
that is nature as far as it's concerned.
That's its way of life. That's how it exists.
So as she's making this connection and coming to this realization of its intentions, there is a big bang of light that pierces the darkness, that we can only assume is the traveler doing whatever it did to drive the darkness back.
Which is that moment right there is that's where
There are plenty outside though. Get me to a console and we'll get out.
I'm going to change it just for a second. That's
okay.
That's where the theory of like, oh well, Rasputin shot the traveler and that's why it's stuck there. Like whatever that event was that happened there, which spoilers, that's a rumor spread by Aldrin. That is what that is the event that creates that big light bang, that poof moment in the darkness and in the void.
Yep. So this big bang of light happens, and it's described as light that is not just visible, but is in every spectrum: radio, microwave, ultraviolet,
Everything.
gamma, a total and all-encompassing radiation.
Infinite wavelength.
So goes back to what we were saying before. Darkness is absolute zero on the electromagnetic spectrum. Light is infinite on the electromagnetic spectrum.
That line, when I read that today, I was like,
the light is every possible wavelength all at once.
Infinite wavelength.
Infinite wavelength.
That's it. That's game, set, match.
So this light wave meets the darkness around the ship, and Mara, of course, is there to witness it in person. And she describes it as a battle fought and an equilibrium reached, not a truce or a defeat, but an infinite limit, like a physical representation of dividing by zero. So not necessarily that either of these forces has won per se, but just that they cannot actually touch each other.
In terms of chess, a stalemate.
Yeah, they are both. It's not the impenetrable object or the unmovable object and the impenetrable force. It's two impenetrable forces against each other. And so this colliding of this energy, that one never overcomes the other, turns into a black hole, turns into a singularity.
Because why not? Because
why not?
Even we, like, as again, coming back out of the game to real world, we have no idea what the fuck a black hole is. Like, no. we kind of know what it is, but we don't know what's on the inside. We don't know what's around it. We don't know what's... I mean, nothing escapes it. Light even can't escape it. Like, nothing can escape it. And so, of course,
it was kind of... it was interesting, Mara's description in telling the forming of this singularity was that it was the universe trying to erase its mistake so that no one would know this had happened, essentially.
And that to me was an interesting point too, of like, what, again, kind of touching on earlier things that we've talked about in previous episodes, that whole like beginner level of the gardener and the winnower of like, this, whatever just happened here was uncalculable, not like outside of the known physics of the universe, and so it shouldn't have existed, and the universe itself is like, no, where's my eraser? Where's my giant eraser?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Let's get the white out. Yeah.
Get the white out. Get the giant eraser. Get the shredder. This is no. Burn it. Disappear.
So, as any enterprising 19 to 20-year-old would do as they're floating in space watching a black hole form in front of them,
trying to become one with the universe.
Mara undoes her tether and falls into it because she says she wants to be the first.
She wants to be the first. She wants to be the first.
Yeah. So now we switch perspectives a little bit. We arrive on... We don't know exactly what happened after the forming of this black hole. We don't know... we can theorize that the ship was... Well, clearly, the ship was sucked into it. We don't know exactly all the details, but the ship and its crew entered the black hole following Mara.
Yep.
And we are given the perspective of Captain Alice Lee. And it's a very unique perspective because it's literally as she is becoming aware of her own existence again, as she's being like reborn.
That's what I'm going to refer to it as.
And she realizes that she is within the world of the black hole. And she realizes that she has, and we'll talk more on this later, Zor, so don't spoil.
That's fine.
She realizes that she has essentially the ability. She is a god. She is the god of the world of the black hole, the god of the world of the singularity, and her thoughts literally make the universe within this black hole.
Whatever she thinks becomes reality, becomes whatever it is. Like if she thinks I need a cheeseburger, cheeseburgers start appearing everywhere. Like that's it is. It's not just like it's when we think of it in game and we talk about like wish magic, like it's almost akin to that, but it's even more than that. It's like I want 2 + 2 to equal 5. So in this universe, 2 + 2 = 5. Full stop.
She is literally writing the rules of reality within that world.
Everything. How everything works.
And I say in addition to that, she's not only writing the physics and the sciences and all these things, she is also literally physically creating those worlds.
Yep.
She is causing that universe to become a thing, to form into worlds that can be habitable. And
now,
after
now, there's a reason why that she's doing this too, because she is the first.
Yeah, so she's the first one to have regained this consciousness. She is the god. And that's why she has the ability to do all of this. And so what she does is she makes everything that she knows, or she makes that world in the form of everything that she knows from her previous life, we'll say. And she attempts to make everything. She wants to make everything be what the Exodus Green was looking for. She wants to make everything be the paradise that they had been seeking out, that they had sought for. She is making a universe that is the goal of the Exodus Green.
It is that new humanity, that new thing.
Yes. And after she's done all this, after she's made all of these things, after she's made this paradise, she binds herself to that paradise and gives up her godhood, quote unquote. She gives up her omnipotence, her ability to shape the world, because, as she says, an omnipotent God can never know the thrills of discovery.
Yep.
So she is consciously disconnecting herself from all that power because she still wants to be able to explore and discover new things and have new experiences, and that's not possible if you already know everything.
Yep.
So she is now in a not mortal, because she's immortal, but a flesh and blood shell.
Yeah.
She's now in a body as we know it on this paradise planet that she's created as the first location of her and all those to follow her. And Mara then born or reborn on this created planet. Alice finds Mara and brings her to the remnants of the Exodus Green. They call it the ship spire, but it's essentially
so that's where I was going to say put a pin in this. That's where the Exodus Green is then.
Yes, you're right. The Exodus Green is
the Exodus
literally
Green is
in
no
the
longer the Exodus Green is no longer in our universe. It is inside that black hole, inside the distributary, as this physical thing.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's exactly where it is. So that answers that.
I was still hoping it was like out on the edge of the universe with nothing with Pluto, but.
I mean, what's cooler, edge of our universe or the middle of a created one, in the middle of inside a black hole?
I mean, the
Little
second one
column A,
sounds a
little
lot
column B.
cooler, but I want the first one to be real so much.
So she brings Mara to the ship spire, what's left of Exodus Green, and she asks her, or she tells her as they approach the ship spire, I don't know what this is. I only know that it is mine. Which indicates to me that they don't have recollection or they don't have complete recollection of their previous lives.
Sure.
I don't think it's or I guess maybe they gain some of those memories as time goes on, but it seems to be a case where it's not complete.
I think it's by design, and I'm just going to leave it at that word.
I would agree with that, and that will become clear as we go on. But
Pins
Alice
the board with
asks,
a string on it.
yes. So Alice also asks Mara during this discussion, why were you the second to be born on this world? Why you in particular? And Mara replies, I don't know. And that is described as the first lie ever told and the first secret ever kept in this new world, this new universe.
Almost like the original sin, like
It's the same kind of feeling to it, yeah.
This is the beginning of why this is not actually paradise, but in everyone's eyes, this is paradise. This is utopia. This is the greater world that this is the new humanity, which are now calling themselves the Awoken.
It is exactly what it is, and we'll go back to it when we get towards the end of the distributary.
I do want to touch on one thing though. When they start becoming reborn or awoken, Alice Lee. So Alice Lee beforehand, Captain Alice Lee, is spelled ALICE space
yes.
LI. When she becomes the first of this new world, and she starts forming it, she the way she forms her name even is a physical formation of like an anagram, ALILIALI, and then she's like folded in, and then like it folds in on itself, and then like drop the letter, and then the letter drops out, and then like squiggle it, twist it, and so then it becomes an S, and then she's like separate it, Alice, and so now it's ALIS space LI, Alice Lee.
It's like she's literally manipulating the how to put it. She's literally manipulating the intent of her name, which is affecting the letters.
Yeah.
And along those same points, Mara does the same thing.
Mara does the exact same thing.
Mara's original name was Maram.
M-A-R-A-R-A-M. Maram. And then it talks about how it cuts it off at the center, so that way it's imperfect. Open at one end. And then what was it?
Always
so it's
unsatisfied.
Yes. And then like the what was it? The M-A becomes R-A. R-A becomes like what might become. And so since those are 2 points, it in geometry terms, it's just a line. And I thought that was a neat, like even the names that they are picking is being affected or is affecting the mass of this new space.
Yes. The names and the meaning behind them literally affect the reality they're being put into.
Yeah.
Okay, so
sorry, didn't mean to.
Nope.
Derail
I'm
that
just
one.
finding my spot here. So the crew is now all being reborn and reawakening, and choosing their own names and going through all of this. And the population of the world becomes 40,891. I thought this was interesting. The very first weapon they ever built to hunt things on this new paradise world, which did have other creatures, did have other fauna and plants and all of that, was the bow. which is why the bow is so sacred to the Awoken people.
Which on another side note, I may never run anything other than Wish Ender again.
I mean, the lore.
The lore behind this bow! I know, Whopper. I got too excited. You're fine. Go back to sleep.
So they have this population now of multiple thousands of people, and they have to they have to start making decisions. They have to go, okay, we need to figure out how we are going to exist in this space and what our goal of existence is going to be. And so they make a council. They have a number of people that partake on this council, and they decide on 9 verdicts. The first, that they will be called the Awoken and that they are immortal. The second being that the world will be called the Distributary, a river that leaves its mother stream but never rejoins, solidifying their ideal at this time to never return to the Soul System.
To break away, to be the new Awoken. They are Awoken now. They are no longer humanity. They are
correct.
Not of humanity anymore.
The third, that Awoken should only multiply after a careful forecast of population and ecology, because each child born is also immortal. Those wise in technology would be heralded and called, and I wasn't sure of the pronunciation here. I think it was Eutix or
That's yep.
Unix.
Not Unix.
Not
very close.
Very similar in spelling.
As far as numbers, there are a lot more women in this thing than there are men, and they acknowledge non-binary people.
Yes. So that was that's the very next verdict, actually. Women.
So they're
hold
the
care.
original woke, the Awoken.
God damn it! God damn it! God damn it! Everything was cool up until this point, Benny.
I'm stopping. I'm stopping. It was just comedic interference. It was a signal from way out in the reef. Sorry, I'm done. Let's play Crucible. Okay, bye.
Problem solved. There we go. We're done.
There we go. That's where it came from.
But no,
Damn
so
it, Mara.
they mention because there's so many more women than any other denomination, the women would hold care and protection of the men and others until more could be born. Essentially, it's a matriarchy.
Matriarchal
is all that is.
And not because they wanted to be matriarchal. They just happen to have more women than everyone else.
By nature of their population, it made sense.
Yep.
Yeah. That they established that the purpose of the Awoken people should be to discover, know, and love the cosmos, which essentially is what they were doing already. They wanted to explore the farthest reaches they could, and that was their purpose in life, and it just continues in their new form. The next verdict is one that's
Benny, I muted everybody else.
Of a bit of contention.
You don't have to talk, just for callouts.
That the Awoken were
They're doing
created
a really
by
nice
light
job.
and dark, but hold no debt.
It might actually
to
get
either
popular.
one.
They're good.
So this is essentially again.
Thank you, Scotty.
Going to another party, PvP nerds. It's lore chat.
I keep having to mute myself because Whopper keeps.
Dude, they care about it so much.
It's so good.
Right.
It's so good.
You can tell. I'm just saying.
It's
Near and dear to our hearts.
It's further solidified. Bye, Benny.
Tell Benny to catch it on the stream. He can keep it up in the background with Mark's stream.
So essentially, this is them solidifying a very important point for their society, and that is that they acknowledge they were created by these entities, this light and dark entities, but they will not feel a debt or a duty to either of those entities or the system they came from.
Yep.
They are very much staking their claim as to we are separate.
They really
from
are
everything.
all in on this separate thing. That they are really.
Yep.
They like as far as like a people they're like we're done. We're not part of that world. We're not part of anything. This is our euphoria. This is what we came for. This is the whole purpose of our mission. We have satisfied our mission. Now it's time to just live and be.
Yeah. So, the last proclamation is that Alice Lee would be recognized as queen, and her first action as queen is that is proclaiming that there will be no secrets among the awoken people. She will not hold any secrets. She will and does reveal the nature of the creation of the world they are in, and that she was responsible for it.
That she was the first.
And for quite some time, everything's okay. Everyone's all right with this. Things are moving along. Society is forming, and societal groups start forming throughout the world. You have...
And when we say quite some time, we literally mean quite some time. It's described as 9 and 90 years, but in parentheses it just means it's just a really long time.
So later on this is mentioned in an actual number. It's determined that at the time where our talk about the distributary ends, it has been 12.1 billion years.
So they've been there a hot second. In other words, as far as in the distributary and being immortal, that's not like an exaggeration of the word immortal. They're literally there for eternity. Like this is their heaven. This is their whatever you want to call it. This is it.
This is their paradise.
Yep.
So as the world starts to form, societies take root in different areas of the world. And it seems very similar to what we have. There are kind of the rural societies, and there are the urban societies. Yep. Those based around cities and technology, and the advancement of those technologies, and those that are more.
In other words, Democrats.
Let's not attribute either of those labels to what's going on here.
When you were like urban and rural, I was like, oh god, god, he's right. No, none of that here.
The ones that are more in tune with nature.
There you go.
They form tribes in the forests and the mountains, and I almost my envisioning is of like Native American tribes.
Absolutely, like that real connection to Earth, that connection to everything around them. Like not necessarily hating the city, not just that's just not my thing. I don't really care to be in the city. I want to be more with nature. This isn't just your paradise. This is all of our paradises. We're all going to be exactly what we want to be 100% of the time, because this is paradise. This is it.
And this particular group of people, the ones that live out in these more forested areas and whatnot, they live off the earth. They make everything they have is made from the skins of animals, and they hunt for meat, and they gather and they farm and all of those things. And they live peacefully alongside the more developed city areas that are more technology based. And Mara lives away from both of these societies. She has kind of found a mountaintop where she's going to play hermit and sit in a cave and be away from everybody.
I am on her side with this one. Hermit it up, baby.
And she gets visits from her mother, Osana, and from her brother, who is now named Aldrin. Has taken the name Aldrin over Aldwin.
And that's another distinct thing to say too. Not all the people at Awoken took on new names.
Correct.
Alice Lee became Alice Lee.
Different spelling, but same name.
But different spelling, same name. And then Osana, literally the exact same person. Osana. She's not ever mentioned in any other way. Like, that is... So taking a new name as an Awoken isn't necessarily like a, you know, good or a bad thing. It's just that is how you as yourself have perceived it in this paradise that you... Because I think it's not... I think it's more than just Alice Lee has the connection to it. I think it's every single Awoken has that connection.
Yes, I agree.
Can help make those mathematical time-space connections of, like, folding the paper and making their name, and now their name becomes part of the math of the universe type thing.
I was under the impression that that process was true for all of the original crew that were reborn.
For the 891.
Yes. Well, not 891. The
40,891.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
All of the original crew of the Exodus Green that were reborn, that their consciousness literally went from the soul system to this system, and I feel like the names they take on in this new place are, to them, the purest representations of themselves.
Sure.
And for
Absolutely.
some people, they're exactly the same, like Osana, and for others, they're the same but different, like Alice, and for even, you know, for others, they felt like there was a more accurate representation. Like I think Aldrin, changing his name in the way he did is significant of that.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
So,
okay, I keep changing
no.
in here.
So we have these different societies that have formed, and over time, different beliefs start to form as well within these societies. There is the idea that takes root in the tribes, the tribal societies, that the Awoken were born of a conflict of light and dark, and that they owe a debt to the universe to resolve that conflict. And this ties back a little bit to, they mentioned the Awoken's goal, the Awoken's purpose in life is to discover and love the cosmos. And I think love in that context is almost of a spiritual nature. Like, they treat the universe in the same way that one would treat, you know, capital G God.
Right.
And so to them, this is a deeply religious and spiritual thing. They're saying, you know, we were born of this battle from our mother universe. We owe it.
That term, that mother universe thing, that's where I think that's important too, because the distributary itself is inside the black hole, and the black hole exists inside the universe.
Right.
So it's almost as if, like, you know, we were quote unquote reborn, but we're still technically part of this universe. So that debt still has to be paid.
Yeah, they see this as we need to help resolve this conflict that we were born of, because, you know, our originating place, our mother universe, is in distress, and you know, so this group starts to call themselves the Ecalistists. There's a lot of S's, a lot of T's. I'm just gonna.
I think it's the one pronunciation I have heard of it is the Ecalist.
Ecalist. Okay, we'll go with that. That sounds good.
That was one of the pronunciations I've heard of it.
They call themselves the Ecalist. And in the cities, they are standing by the original seventh verdict, which says the Awoken were created as a gift to the cosmos, and they carry no responsibility of it, you know, no responsibility to pay it back. And this group becomes known as the Sanguine.
Yep.
So we have the Ecalists, which are, you know, we owe it to the universe that birthed us to help it fight its battles, and the Sanguine saying the universe is lucky to have us. We need to just keep on doing what we're doing. The Ecalists, a specific person within the Ecalists, who I somehow forgot to note her name.
Diasyrum?
Diasyrum? Yeah.
Diasyrm.
Yeah. She accuses...
Just another real quick thing. I don't know what it is about this distributary, but they come up with the craziest names for shit.
Oh, I know.
They couldn't just say, this is a wizard, this is a tech wizard, this is a techno summer. Hi, my name's Dan. No.
They had, you know...
They're like, we're separate from that. Nobody can be called Dan ever again. That's a human name. You can't name an awoken Dan.
Their version of Tolkien was over there, just naming everything he saw.
Just naming shit. Look at this jumble of letters. Alphabet soup. Yeah, absolutely.
So this figurehead of the Eclipse accuses Queen Alice Lee of deicide. She says,
killing of gods.
She says, you, Alice Lee, were the first born in this world, and you were the one that decided the nature of our existence. We could have been anything. We could have been gods without the need for suffering or pain, because although they're immortal, they're not. It's not like they're impervious. You know, they can still.
They
get
still
sick.
have a mortal shell.
They can still get.
Yeah.
They still bleed. They still feel pain. And she is claiming that by you deciding that this should be our existence, you have killed all of the gods we could have been. And that all of the pain and suffering that every single person in this universe has felt since you decided this is your fault.
Yep. This is on your head. This is your ultimate sin.
And this accusation causes quite a bit of unrest, because you now have people within the cities that, you know, this queen was beloved. The queen without secrets is what they called her.
Yep.
And the thought that she had kept this secret for herself, that she should through the lie of omission not told them that she had denied them godhood, was a grave crime to a number of people, and it started a war between the Awoken, the Theodicy War. Theodicy meaning divine good in the face of the existence of evil. So very
almost like a new battle of good and evil inside the distributary.
Very
not much unlike the good and evil of I can't say good and evil, but the light and the dark on the
opposing
outside
forces. Yeah, the
opposing
opposites.
Forces. Yep.
So this war occurs, and it's interesting because they describe it as this horrible, tragic, awful thing, and when we read it, knowing what wars have been like for us outside of the game, it seems like a small squabble.
Yeah.
Like
hey, you over there! Who are you and your mother? And they're just like, oh God!
So there is a battle that breaks out. 891 Awoken lives are lost. These are the first.
That was another interesting one that I've been battling with myself. Were they actually lost, or is this just a theoretical loss? Like not an actual, like people did, like, because they're immortal, right? Like they can't.
No, they die.
They're immortal. They can't die. But this is an actual, like 891 of them dead.
This is an actual, and that is why it is such a tragic event for the Awoken, because they are immortal, and they describe these deaths as not the loss of, to put it in kind of bleak terms, the loss of a traditional human life, from the Awoken's point of view, is the loss of, 30, 40, 50, however many years they had left.
Sure. So that's where like I think the term immortal is not entirely accurate. I think they can just live forever, but
if they're allowed to.
If they're allowed to. If something non-traumatic happens to their physical body,
yes,
or as long as something non-traumatic happens to their physical body, then they will live forever.
Yes, but these 891 lives that were lost eat away at both sides, because this is a loss of 891 literal eternities of experience and discovery and
the experience,
anything these people could have done.
The thoughts, the everything, all of eternity in 891 things gone.
And so it's a very traumatic event for the Awoken people in general, and it brings Queen Alice Lee to decide that this cannot continue. She needs to figure out a way to prevent more loss of life. And so she calls on Mara, who she knows has a sway over people, knows how to convince people, and wants her and her mother, who is a negotiator amongst the tribal groups, to help her find a peaceful resolution. And so she brings Mara to her chambers, and they have a very interesting discussion. So whereas Alice has always been the queen without secrets, everyone should know everything, nothing should be held, Mara claims that the queen doesn't keep enough secrets, and that because she told everything, it has been interpreted to mean different things by everyone that hears it. And this harkens back to what we were talking about before in Mara, and how if something cannot be absolutely communicated with the perfect intent, to her it's not worth communicating.
Yep.
And Alice asks her, why do you like lies? And Mara corrects her, says not lies, secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Says that when a truth is said, all that hear it have their own interpretation of that truth. And once those interpretations spread, only the most provocative remain, whether they are the truth or not at that point. Better to tend a great mystery and so starve the untruths before they can grow. That is how I would be queen. So Mara's saying, rather than say something I know to be true, but say it knowing that other people can twist its meaning, I would rather nobody know for sure, because then there's nothing to twist.
That secret, that mystery, that if that mystery is always there, nobody can say, oh well, this is the exact meaning of it, because then somebody else will be like, well, you don't know that. This is all unknowns. Like, we don't.
And I think that informs a lot about all of the discussions and all of the dialogue we have ever seen her have in the game.
Absolutely.
She will never tell you this is what's happening, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. It's always I'm going on, she's off to fight a war. Well, what war? Who? Why? What's the motivations? Yeah. Who are we against? Which side is she on? Like, it's never, we never know exactly what she's doing, because she doesn't want to, she always wants to leave a mystery wherever she can. And the few things that she does say, the intention that she does directly say, the intention is very clear.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's another thing to take too. Since we know that the way Mara thinks is in this idea of words are just a jibble jobble of nothing. It's that intent behind them that has to be communicated perfectly. That when she says something, it's purposeful. It's exact. It's very much, there's a meaning behind it. It's not just like hey, go fight the Taken. It's like a go fight the Taken, but it's not even like a physical fight, like it's a metaphysical fight. Like it's like there's more to her words than even what she's saying, but in the same sense, she is saying exactly what she's saying. Like
she's saying exactly what she means to say, what she wants you to understand.
Yeah.
And perfect example is the wish wall.
Yeah.
Like she literally created a way to communicate with Riven that the intention could not be skewed.
That right there. A way to communicate with an Ahamkara where the Ahamkara can't be like, oh, well, you wish for $1 million, so here's all your deers. Like, yeah.
Yep. So, they have this discussion, and Mara agrees to help Alice negotiate peace for the price of a boon promised in the future. Essentially, you'll owe me a favor for me doing this for you that I'll collect on at a later time. So, Mara and Aldrin and Osana spread the word to the and I'm going to forget how you pronounced it already. The Ecalists.
Ecolites.
Ecolites.
That's what I'm taking it as. Ecolites. Or Ecalist or whatever.
Whatever.
Bitsu.
They spread word to this faction that the Awoken were born of a strife. Were born of a conflict, and because of being born of that conflict, they will always have conflict within them. They will always have a flaw of being half and half within them, and because of that flaw, they could not have ever possibly have been gods. Gods are flawless beings. We are not flawless. We could have never been what you claim was taken from us. And more or less, they believe it. They take it at face value.
Like that's Osana said it. Osana be praised.
Yeah. The leader of the group, Dicerum, she believes it a little less than the others. She still feels like there's some unresolved, there's something unresolved there. She doesn't want to just let it go, and so she seeks out Mara on her mountaintop to try and get more out of the situation. And that's the last anyone ever hears of her. She just disappears off the face of the earth. No one ever sees or hears her name ever again. Poof. So peace has been restored. The war has ended, but Queen Alice still feels all this guilt from the fact it happened in the first place, and that her actions are what drove this division between people, and she steps down as queen.
Yep.
Osana comes to Mara. Osana and Aldrin meet Mara after all of this, and Osana accuses Mara of being behind it all, quote unquote, and that being the forming of the Ecalist religion and the pushing of Dicerum to become the leader, the figurehead, and to knowing that her personality type would lead her to go to war with Alice, and in turn, Alice would have to turn to Mara as a moderator.
Yep.
And Mara would be in a position to take something from Alice, in this case the favor owed.
Yep.
Mara doesn't admit or doesn't confirm or deny. She just kind of ignores the statement altogether.
Not lies, secrets.
And instead, she turns to Aldrin, and she asks Aldrin, she tells Aldrin, "I remember my birth. Do you?"
Yeah.
To which Aldrin takes a moment, and he says internally, thinking to himself, he remembers, and he also knows the secret that not even Alice Lee may be allowed to know. And then it does a time skip. You know, stuff has been, the war is over. People have resolved their differences. Society is moving forward once again in the Distributary. For everyone except one person. And that one person is Sir Ido. Sir Ido was a confidant, a friend, a comrade of Dicerum, who is now gone missing after a meeting with Mara.
Poof.
And Sir theorizes, well, Mara killed her.
Yeah,
essentially.
That's the only explanation she could come up with, so that's got to be truth, right?
Yeah, so she goes, Mara has killed my friend, so I'm going to find Mara and do the same.
Yep.
And the society's in a weird spot right now where the Gensum scribes have more control than the royalty does, than the queen of the time does.
And the Gensum scribes being basically the scientists of society. They're the great thinkers. They're the knowledge gatherers. They are all about how can we use the world around us to make more, to make better, to do more, to do better.
Which Asher Mir was definitely a part of at the time.
Asher Mir was absolutely a Gensum scribe. And Captain Alice's science officer.
Yeah. And the Gensum scribes, so Sir comes to the scribes and says, I want to find Mara. I want to exact retribution. She's very upfront about her motives. And the scribes go, okay, if we don't let this resolve itself, it could cause another war. And we don't want that. That's bad. So they give her the go-ahead. They're like, yep. This is the last known location of Mara. Go have fun. Leave us out of it. Don't start a war.
Give them a map. Go, X marks the spot, man. It's right there.
And it's unclear how long Sir is searching for Mara, but it seems to be a very significant amount of time, like years and years and years.
Yep.
Because when we next kind of come to Mara, she's under the employ of a new queen, which I'm gonna pronounce is Nuya Pin.
Nagoya Pin.
Nagoya Pin. Okay. I didn't know the G was silent.
Yeah.
Who the two previous warring factions of the Sanguine and the Equalis have now essentially become religions. In the same way that a king or queen may refer to themselves as Catholic or Protestant or whatever, one of the many different sects of religion that there are. Queen Pin declares herself as Equalist. Yep. And says that she will solve the mystery of the conflict within the Awoken Soul and chart the nature of their universe. And Mara becomes a member of Pin's court. I don't think anyone knows it's Mara, at least at first. But she's kind of there as a researcher in the pursuit of this goal that Queen Pin has put forth.
And every time she's referred to at this point in time, they talked about her walking around cloaked and
yes,
so I
very
think
much
you're right
in disguise.
I think you're right in that sense of like she doesn't want anyone to know that she's Mara, or she at least doesn't want to bring attention to herself.
Yep. So Sir has now caught up with Mara. She knows she's in the Queen's court. She knows who she is in the court, and she is determined to find her and exact her revenge. And so she does.
To just add to this a little bit, Shir Ido has a very particular weapon.
Yes.
It is a bow that is taller than her. In order for her to string this bow, she has to set like a typical longbow is about chest height from the ground, and you kind of use your ankle of one foot and the shin of your other foot to bend it a little bit and to string it. Well, hers, she has to use her whole body and bends it over the top of her head to be able to string it. So we're talking a bow that non-strung is like 10 feet tall.
It's massive.
This thing is huge. But in her quiver, she only holds one arrow.
That's all she needs.
That's all you need.
So an interesting...
Arrows are reloadable. Not like bullets.
An interesting point to that, just to make it even more impressive. So there is lore. Sir Ido has a whole side story that I would love to go into at some point.
Absolutely.
But Shax meets Sir, way farther in the future from where we are now, and he describes her as someone that towers over him.
So she herself is huge.
She herself is very tall, and the bow is tall enough that it goes over her head. So we're easily like 8-foot bow, 9-foot bow.
And this bow is very, very poorly represented in the game in its size.
Yes.
This bow is the Wishender bow.
I'm just gonna say our guardian materialized it down to usable.
They had to have.
Usable
This thing is freaking huge. It's huge. Aww. Oh, dang it.
Not going there. Not going there.
Not going there. Keep your human politics out of my fantasy game.
This is space opera, damn it.
This is space opera with magic.
So she's
in the court. She tracks her down. She knows it's her. She starts following her.
Yeah. So she follows her to an area where they can be alone, which is essentially Mara's lab, within the Queen's castle. I guess castle. They never really say.
We'll call it a castle. Why not?
And but she comes face to face with Mara, but she understands in the same way that the Queen and the awoken people of the war understood that what those lives meant, the infinity that each of those could have
all the thoughts,
brought progress,
all the beliefs, all the love, all the everything.
She understands that Mara is too important to kill.
Yeah.
So some of it I think is admiration at this point, having learned what she's done.
Is I'm curious if the awoken people perceive Mara with this level of beauty that's the purest beauty you could think of, and not even in a physical sense, even in a metaphysical sense of this is the most purest being thing in front of them.
I don't know. I don't know that there's anything in the text to would it make sense? Absolutely. I don't know if there's anything we can read that has someone giving that interpretation of her. I think regardless whether, although she was very angry at the time and had other emotions going on, Seer does describe her as very visually appealing to her.
Yeah.
In addition to that, she understands she's very important to society, and to deny the awoken people all the things Mara could bring them would be wrong.
Yeah.
And so she challenges her to a duel, but not a duel against Mara, but a duel against the most important person in Mara's life. And Sir says that she will either kill the person, the champion, to win the duel, or if she wins the duel without killing the champion, she will have the right to maim Mara permanently, so that she's not dead, but she's no longer whole.
She's no longer perfect. She's no longer awesomeness.
Right.
Enter Thunderdome.
And of course, Sir is gambling her own well-being on her side. She's fighting for herself. And so, of course, Mara, at this point, being unabashedly orders Aldrin to be her champion, essentially. She knows that he'll agree. She knows that he would do it. So instead of
because of his nature, because of that nature of that,
yes.
I am better because of my losses. I better myself through my battles, through my whatever. Like that's what Uldren is at his core, and so that's her main driving force to put him forward and say, "Here you go, have fun."
Yeah. So she just orders him to do it. She says, "Hey, go fight this person for me," and he does happily. And I don't write out all of the ways they duel here, but it's quite interesting. They duel in 3 different forms. And essentially, the first is a tie. The second is Uldren is shot, is wounded. And the third, Uldren just drops a nuke.
Yeah.
or a simulated nuke.
So like those 3 parts there. The first one is kind of to the benefit of both people. It's a battle of knives, and they battle on a web over the top of a reactor basically. And it comes to a duel. They end up Uldren starts cutting stuff here and there, just kind of throw her off, and they keep throwing at her, and she's very about the thrust, and he's all about the what I would consider
dodge and weave,
dodge and weave, the very much the hunter style of finesse and all that, and that's where they end up cutting it, and they both fall in, and so they both technically die. And then the second one is the battle of rifles, and Uldren is very much attuned to he's very much of the tribe, so he's the one with nature, like camouflages everything, like he's going through and he's being very careful, and Shear's just like tromping through stuff, like throwing up vegetation, throwing up birds, doesn't give a fuck, just walking through, disturbing everything she can just to throw Uldren off, and Uldren doesn't know how to like deal with that, so she catches him, shoots in the back, and not a killing blow,
yeah.
But definitely a wound of pain. And then the last one is they agreed to fight with 5th generation fighters, and they have access to their entire payload, and if they can't acquiesce their or if they can't acquire the payload, they'll just simulate it and call it good. So she picks this like super darty, like the Corvettes of the fighters at the time, and Uldren picks like this like junker ship that has like nothing. It has like 2 lasers, and that's it. And she's like, "You're gonna get smoked. What the hell's wrong with you?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm good. It'll be all right." And as she goes in, so they chart out their little area, and they've got bombs underneath their seats. So if they leave the area, the bomb explodes, and that person is the loser. And they enter the fight with each other, and Shear does this diving move to kind of like hug the land and flying map of the earth, and just shoot, darting in and out, and comes up and just comes up underneath him, and he comes over the comms as she's about to fire and goes, "You lose, I win, kill confirmed." And she's like, "What the hell?" And it turns out he simulated a part of the payload of this little shit ass vessel is a nuke, nuclear warhead. So he just sets it off, kills her, kills everything within a 7-mile radius.
Simulated, of course.
Simulated.
But
simulated.
He wins by mutual destruction, essentially.
Yeah.
So now because it's technically a draw, they tied the first, and they each won one of the others. And Seer puts her fate in the hands of Mara. Says, "I am yours to do with as you see fit, be it kill me or otherwise." And Mara chooses to instate her as her bodyguard. To go back just a little bit, while these challenges are happening, while this duel is happening, the Jetsam scribes are freaking the fuck out.
Yeah,
because they are seeing Sir's actions, which now years later, after they gave the go-ahead to go hunt Mara, Sir is now directly attacking a retainer of the Queen.
Yeah.
And the Jetsam scribes are like, shit, if they find it, if anyone finds out that we greenlit this attack on a Queen's retainer, we're going to be in big trouble.
Like they're going to come after us. They're going to kill all of us. Like that's.
So the Jetsam scribes as a group make the decision to essentially abandon the kingdom. They go into hiding. They cease their work on exploring the universe of the Distributary.
Which, in terms of science, is like a huge blow. Like at the time, they were trying to build up rockets. They were trying to build up all sorts of stuff to just fly around and do stuff. And it was like, nope, we're done. We're out. Sorry.
And the Ecalists, who have been all for this movement, and their queen has supported this movement, see the removal of the scribes, because they don't know the scribes' motivations for leaving. They see the removal of the scribes as a power play by the Sanguine religion to prevent this further exploration.
Yeah.
And so tensions start to rise within the kingdom between these groups again. Nothing boils over yet, but it's definitely
no full-on Theodicy war.
Yeah, but it's like, there's one side thinks the other is trying to sabotage their goals.
Yeah.
And really, it's just because Sir was on a mission of vengeance.
Yep. And for Shiraido, that was her whole driving force. There was no underlying tones there, no nothing. She said, Mara killed my leader. I want her dead. I want her head on a pike. Full stop. There's nothing secret about it.
And so Sir is now Mara's bodyguard. Mm-hmm. And over time, the Ecalist goal of essentially building rockets and building the means to having the resources and the means and the technology to escape their world are reached. And when this happens, when they finally have all of this, the Queen Pin essentially throws the title of queen at Mara. Says, I know you've been using me. I know you've been manipulating me. I have been going along with it because it has kept the peace in the country. But now that you've... Yeah, but now that we've accomplished what I know you were trying to do, fuck you, I'm out.
I will be a pawn no more. This is I'm not playing your game. The only way to win is to just not play.
And so now Mara is the unofficial queen. There is no... She never gets the title within the Distributary. But she has all the power of the queen. And so she makes an announcement to the entire population of the Distributary. And this point in the Distributary's history, when I envisioned prior to rereading this, the Distributary, I envisioned a very like a higher plane of existence almost. Sure. Like a higher very with different technologies and different personalities and like they were all Buddhist monks or something.
Yeah.
But what's described here is essentially the space race as we knew it back in
back in the 60s. Yeah, absolutely.
60s. And so it's very interesting to see such a quote unquote like mundane society form or societal structure form, even if they are much more advanced in a lot of ways than what ours was during that time. But one sec, I gotta plug my headset in.
Oh no.
There we go. All right. Didn't want that dying. But so she makes this big proclamation to the entire population of the Distributary and says, our world is a gift and we must deny it.
Yep.
She parrots a lot of the Ecalist beliefs that we need to go back to, we have proven that our universe lies within a singularity within the mother universe, and that time passes much faster within our universe than it does in the Sol system.
And there's a quote in that speech that I wanted to read.
Yeah.
During the speech that she's giving to her millions of people as the new queen, she says, "You know yourselves," she says. "Let me tell you of your cosmos. We live in a spiritually infinite, isotropic universe, 12.1 billion years old. Its metal. This is a hard word. Its metallicity is ideal for life and for the spread of technological. Distance between all points in the universe will contract to zero, and the cosmos will collapse into a singularity to be reborn in fire. There will be no end to eternity here." Like that whole statement there is just like, these people have been living this way for this long, and to be told this exact truth, like, it like, she that's where she's like, this is everything. Like, this is everything to them. And that's when she says, "Our world is a gift and we must refuse it." And that's the whole thing there, is like, we as nice as paradise is, we were never meant to be separate from humanity. We were put in this existence, in this little distributary, in this 12.1 billion year old world, specifically to better ourselves and to go back. Yep. and to fix everything that we left behind.
Yeah, later on in that same speech, she says the distributary is not a paradise but a refuge. Our ancestors are on the brink of extinction, and we must accept that it is our debt to help them. Yep. Exactly that. Like, this was a place for us to better ourselves, for us to evolve beyond what we once were, so that we could then take that back to where we came from, and make sure that our ancestors, our home, survives.
Yep.
And I think some of that harkens back to the very first line that she talks about, where she was at the time 19 years and 9 months, as measured by a calendar, of a world she had rarely visited but had always loved as home. Yep. And I think that's still part of it.
She's still, as much as it's not necessarily her home, it's a place to be called home. It's everything to everyone. Like, I honestly think it's that connection, that spiritual connection. She has some sort of connection there that she just can't give up.
Yeah. So there's some people that are receptive to her message and others that are not. And there's a group of Awoken that have dedicated themselves to leaving the distributary to go back to the Sol system with Mara.
Mm-hmm.
And
willingly, like, none of this is forced. Like, she straight up asks, will do you guys want to join me? Yeah. This is gonna suck. Once, like, in this distributor, we don't age or anything, but if we go back,
we're mortal.
We are officially mortal. Like, we're gonna age again. We will eventually die of just old age. Like, you are giving up paradise to come back with me to help humanity, to get back to Earth, to get back and finish whatever we left back there.
Yeah. So, amongst those going with her is Aldrin. Person that is notably not going with her or her brother is her mother, Osana, who has decided to remain. As well as a large number of, I would say a majority of Awoken remained. It definitely seemed like it was a smaller number, by means of their population at least. that actually did leave.
Yep.
And before they leave, before their fateful flight, Mara makes one last visit to Queen Alice, who is, former Queen Alice, who is now living on her own, comfortably, but like out in a cottage kind of thing, somewhat away from everything else. And she comes to her to collect her favor, collect her boon.
Her boon.
And she talks to Alice, and Alice asks her, what is it that you want? She's been expecting Mara to come ask for something, power, or Alice to be a voice in support of this migration out of the distributary, of this exodus from the distributary. And Mara says she doesn't need any of that. She doesn't want any of that. Instead, she wants to tell Alice a story. And essentially what is implied that she told her is Mara finally reveals the secret, finally reveals the first secret, the first lie that was ever told in the distributary, and that was that Mara was born second. The implications,
and the truth behind that is that Mara was not born second. Mara was literally the first.
She wanted to be the first.
She wanted to be the first, and so she was. And because of that, everything in the distributary exists in a way that Mara has designed it. So Mara designed Alice Lee to believe that she was the first. Mara designed herself to be the second one awoken. Like everything, all of this, everything has been designed to Mara's whim and will, which kind of gives a bigger meaning to Mara herself. She is the only one of the entire awoken people that knows of life before awokenness.
Yes, she's the only one that, as far as we know, has full recollection of her past life.
Everything. Like there's no loss of anything there. She knows everything. And the world that exists inside this black hole is all because she willed it that way. She wanted it to be that way. Also, she could come to this moment and go back and help
to leave.
To leave, to finish, to repay that debt.
And so in admitting all of this, she is also admitting to Alice that she is responsible directly and indirectly for all of the things Alice has blamed herself for up until now. All of the
everything,
the death of the war, the fact that she created
war, everything, the acolytes, everything. Like
Mara is responsible for the division of the religions. She's responsible for Alice create. So the way I see it is not that she made Alice think that she created the universe, but that Mara was a higher god. In the best way I can explain it, Mara was a higher god than Alice was, or
Yep.
Mara created Alice to be a lesser god.
Yep.
And created her with the ideas already in her head to make the universe in the way that she did.
Yep.
Because Mara told her to, essentially, indirectly told her to. So every little thing that Alice has been beating herself up over the last eternity was really because Mara willed it that way.
Yep.
And the favor that she asks after finally revealing this secret is for forgiveness, is for Alice to not hate her, essentially.
Yep.
Because way back when she was a teenager on the ship's hull, she wanted to be the ship's captain. She wanted to grow up to be
the head
Alice
of it.
Lee.
Yep.
and that favor is denied, quite strongly.
And this one, I'm going to read this one because the emotions in this is just amazing. So Mara reveals this to her, and Alice kind of waits a second, and she looks at Mara and she says, "You're the devil. I remember. In one of the old tongues, Mara means death." Oh, that's too perfect. That's too much. You realize that this is the worst thing ever. Worse than stealing a few thousand people from heaven. Worse than that thing we fled before we were even awoken. Mara comes back. Please don't say that. And Alice gets pissed. She rises from her chair. "I'll support your fleet. I'll use every favor and connection I have to get your holes completed and through the gateway. And I'll do it so that I can hasten your departure from this world. I will do it out of hate for you. I will do it so that every good and great thing we achieved here will ever after be denied to you, you snake. No forgiveness. Do you understand me? It is unforgivable. Go."
So it is, in every sense of the word, the original sin of the distributary.
The original sin, like that lie that Mara said, "I don't know," that was it. Like that is and for her to tell Alice Lee this is like the undoing of everything. Like, this is the entirety of existence in this paradise is a lie. The whole thing is just a falsehood, a thing of trickery, or whatever you want to call it. This is crap.
Yeah. Everything exists the way it does because Mara wanted it to, specifically to evolve people to want to leave, to go back and resolve that conflict.
Yeah.
And a number of people do. She takes a few thousand at least. They never reference an exact number. I don't think.
Yeah. I wish they had I wish we'd had like a starting point for the Awoken of the Reef,
but she takes a few thousand, and they board their ships, and they launch off out of the distributary. There are some people that try to stop them. There are some that try to shoot the ships down, essentially thinking that preventing these immortal lives from becoming mortal, and maybe saving some of them by taking the ship down is more justified than letting them dash off to mortality. But regardless, they break out of the distributary and they arrive in the Sol system, and they take stock of what they see, and they find that the universe they left is nearly gone in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There's little,
because time has passed in the normal world, but not 12.1 billion years.
No.
Like it's been centuries.
Yeah.
Maybe at max. And I tried to find some references to this to try to get an equate. At one point in time, Petra mentions 16 centuries, so 1,600 years at least.
Yep.
So I mean, but nowhere, like, clearly nowhere near 12.1 billion years.
No. And because of that time, not that they were ever intending to go back anyway, but because of that time gap, they can't, even if they wanted to.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, if they live out, and I guess we don't know what the Awoken lifespan is. They're certainly mortal now, but their lifespan may still be hundreds of years.
It's true.
But if they were to go back, thousands upon thousands of years would have passed in the distributary.
Just by coming through this side and going, "Nah, I'm good. We're going back to paradise," and turning around and going back, that could have been a billion years right there.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll end here, but I wanted to note one thing that I thought was interesting that was immediately observed after they broke through into the Sol system. And that was upon entering the Sol system, an awoken scientist, which I am now headcanoning is also Ashermere.
Goddamn right it is. Ashermere's the greatest!
Found that the awoken inherently have a slight acausal power. Their thoughts can literally change the energy that passes through them. And the way this scientist experimented was he sent electromagnetic waves and gravitational waves and any kind of energy that they could harness easily. He literally sent it through awoken people and had those awoken feeling different emotions. So send it through a person who is feeling intense sorrow, send it a person who's feeling intense pain, send it through a person that's feeling intense happiness. And in every case, the energy that came out the other side of them after passing through their body was changed, was different. Not drastically, but different. And so by nature of the awoken being, they change anything they come into contact with. And this harkens back a little bit to what we were talking about with darkness and dark changing object A into object B, and it's now object B forever. The awoken are half light, half dark. They seem to inherently have some residual of that same ability.
Absolutely. And there's one person that all of this is greater on than anyone else.
Yeah.
Mara.
Because of course it is.
Because of course it is. Because of fucking course it is.
Because she was at the epicenter.
She was it. She was the first. She is the point of impact. She is the event horizon.
And she was the only one to experience that event horizon with no barrier. She was out in the void of space with nothing between her and all that energy.
Outside her suit, outside of everything.
Yep.
Her little boop.
Mm-hmm. So that will be
I think
the end of part one.
that's a good part to end it. Like we've made it through the distributary, like we made it through the entirety of what is the Awoken are also known as the twice riven people. Riven meaning a split or a separation, which will come into play later. Spoilers: it's an Ahamkara. So they've already been. They've been riven once now. Like they've separated from the Awoken, and they are now the reborn Awoken. And this is the Awoken that we've encountered in our system. Well, some of the Awoken we've encountered in our system.
Yep. But so that's
in part
origin
one.
and history, of the Awoken people.
Great episode, guys.
And now this is going to lead into the reef itself and the formation of the reef for next episode, and thus leading further on into the formation of the Tangled Shore and the Dreaming City and all that. Because there's again, when we first put this whole thing together, like Myth came to me, he's like, dude, I got like 6 pages on this. We might need to pare this down. And I, like me just reading some of these little bits and pieces, I was literally going to say the exact same thing to you. So yeah, we can definitely pare this down to like part 1 is Mara and the story of the Awoken. Part 2 is everything else. Because everything else, like...
We're talking to each other. We're talking to each other now?
Are we talking to each other now?
They're just finishing up. They're just finishing up.
I'll go back. Sorry.
Yes, Benny, you can stay.
Yeah, it's
Are we allowed? No, I'm leaving. We'll see you guys.
We're more or less just finished.
Yeah,
I know one of you sent them a message because they wouldn't have just joined back like that.
I didn't.
I think they've got the stream playing in the background. I think Benny's got it playing on.
I see.
So like I said, next week we're gonna dive more into the what we as Guardians know of the Awoken and their the base. I'd like to try to cover all the way up until the point. I'm debating where to cover up to. I kind of want to cover up to like up to Forsaken. And the last city itself and the last wish, because I feel like that to me is kind of like the end of the not the end of the Awoken, but that to me is like
we're caught up. It's current day at that point. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. We're gonna need to be kind of careful with Last Wish because that can turn into its own. That's giant. That has a lot of threads that attach to a lot of things.
All that's going to be is like the end point. Like this is why we went to Last Wish. Like not like hey, Last Wish is here because of this, and this person is this, and that did this, and this is over here because of this, and now we step through this and do that. No, we're not doing all that.
Okay, that's a good way to go about it. The Last Wish only as it relates to
only as it relates to us
City.
as the Guardians in the Dreaming City.
Yeah. I like that.
But yeah,
that's pretty cool though. I enjoy listening.
Thanks
to that.
for tuning in, guys.
Yeah.
We're glad that everyone was able to listen. Big shout out to Scotty, who was like, "You guys are really good." That made my night. Like,
that was kind of cool.
Hopefully, this thing does take off. If it does, like I said, we're planning on doing this every Monday, starting at about 8 Central, and going until we go. Like, as of right now, I technically have another 30 minutes. Because Margie's plane got delayed, so
lucky.
Yeah,
she's not even landing till 11:30. So
I will say in the future we may want to try to establish some kind of time block for ourselves.
I'm thinking a maximum of 3 hours, like 3 hours, like even 2.5 hours, like what we did tonight was. I mean that's a lot. That's a lot of info to suck in. But there's a lot to tell about Mara and the Reef. Like that's
we picked a very complex subject.
We did as our first 2-part subject. We're like, we're gonna do this, and my first thought was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. We're gonna be like, oh, well, the Reef was this, and this was this, and that was that. Done. No. As soon as I came to the conclusion of like, shit, this is gonna be the entirety of Mara. Like this is. Like, you can't have the Reef
tell
without
that
Mara.
story
Like, you
without
can't.
her. Yeah.
You can't. You literally can't. Like, unless we started, like, right now, like, hey, all these people just came through the singularity, and you're just like, I don't know what just happened.
Ship went poof for a very long time, and then it unpoofed.
And now ship back.
And that's where we are.
And not even the same ship. It's a different ship. Because remember, the Exodus Green,
it's still on the distributary.
Like it's still the main city of the distributary.
Now that we're talking about it, I think the ship spire essentially turns into the castle of the Queen. Like I think that
so
is
too.
the royal.
I think that is
capital,
the royal
the ship
city.
spire.
Yep. Because when they talk about repopulating, they also talk about it as not just as like immortal making babies. Like they're also using pods to make babies. Like it's very much we're living out society here, and we're using like and the ship spire itself is talked about having like forbidden knowledge in it type thing, and so that's where it's like, and I say forbidden knowledge. It's not necessarily forbidden knowledge, but it's like this is like the Queen's
knowledge
personal
is outside
vault.
of the distributary.
Yeah.
Like knowledge of the Mother Universe, which they are now saying we're disconnected from, and so therefore it shouldn't be applicable, kind of thing.
Yep. So that's that's our show tonight.
Cool stuff.
Hopefully everyone didn't get too bored or
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy talking over this stuff with you, but I do hope that it's at least slightly entertaining for people.
I think so.
I enjoy it.
I'll talk about this all night.
I know you will. I will too.
It made my hour and a half of doing heroic public events a little less harsh.
Well, I am very happy I can fulfill the role of a YouTube video for you.
Yeah,
play in the background.
That's kind of our goal for it too. Is we want to do it on like we pick Monday because that's like our cleanup day. Like we've all pretty much done everything we want to do during the week. Like Monday is like really just kind of this chill night to just kind of do whatever. So.
That section of lore is also my favorite, so it always...
there's so much to it.
It's pretty cool.
There's so much to it. Like, after reading the whole thing with Sheer Ido and her bow and everything, I'm like, I just want to use Wish Ender for the rest of the time. That's it.
See, and that's something I also love about getting invested in the lore, is like, it makes you build connections to stuff that you have in the game.
Absolutely.
And that's just cool.
I don't even want to be an Exo anymore. I want to be an Awoken. That's like, if I could change my Warlock to be an Awoken, I'd be an Awoken Warlock, and my backstory would be I'm a Gemstone Scribe, and nope, can't do it now. I'm an Exo.
You would be the Gemstone Scribe that gave Sir the seal of approval, and then noped the fuck out when she started challenging to a duel.
Hey, she's right here. Hey, did you have anything to do with this? No, not me, man. Not me. Not me. Wipe my hands of it. Not me.
No.
Nah, brah.
Scribe. I'm not a scribe. I'm a janitor.
I'm just a janitor. I just got a mop.
Man, I swear I must have done over 30 heroic public events today. Like,
oof.
2.5 hours, man. You could have done like 700.
Playing around.
But I will say after we finish part 2 and like kind of complete part 2. Maybe 3, we'll see.
I think we
kind
of 2 parts.
Kind of complete this saga. Maybe focus on some of the shorter stories for a bit, just to give ourselves and everyone else a little bit of a break from the longer-winded events.
And as far as like a continuous long story, like Mara's and the Reef and all of that, it's very much like there's so much to it. And that's definitely when you said break this up into 2, that was a no-brainer to me. That was
y'all gonna have more next season.
Oh yeah. I really hope.
City, hopefully.
I really hope it is.
So much to go on. Like the Dreaming City itself could be its own thing. The Last Wish itself could be its own thing. Like there's so much. Yeah.
But there's a lot of little stories I've picked up as of late that I think would kind of dovetail very nicely into the Awoken stuff. Like the story of Sir Ido after she arrives, because she does a lot of things independent of Mara and independent of the Awoken as a whole. And has a lot of interactions that honestly I didn't even know about until recently.
I didn't know how much interaction she had with a certain splicer that's been working with us this season, and learned a little bit about him.
So there's another little bit. This will be my teaser for you. Her story drastically changes the interpretation of the Helmet Stayed On lore card.
Yep.
Is it called that? Like, is that the name of the lore card?
No, it's that's the line everyone
remembers. That's what it is. That's the...
That would make it 10 times better if that was the name.
Is it the white text on the helm? Like the very top text on it?
No, it has nothing to do with the helmet. It is a lore card on a weapon that completely changes the interpretation of that entire scenario.
Yeah.
So.
Stay tuned. Woo, 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 woo. I'm trying to think of some cool sign-off thing. Like,
where's the soundboard?
I need like a I don't know.
He'll come up with something eventually.
I'll come up with something eventually.
Yep. He'll probably end up just being Zor singing something.
Yep. No. Get it?
Need
Something
it.
from the bodyguard, because Shiraido is the bodyguard of Mart. See, it all ties in. Full
All
circle.
ties in.
We'll think
Full
of
circle.
some jingle.
There you go.
Problem is, as soon as I think of jingles I already know, and they're all copyrighted.
They're- like, oh, this. Oh no, that's.
No, that's a major company.
They will sue.
They will sue, and we will be screwed.
Or they'll
Cease and
sponsor you
desist.
guys.
Oh, there's the big money ticket there.
Yeah.
There we go.
All profits go to Zor, and until he buys his Alfa Romeo, then y'all can do whatever you want with the rest. That's all I want. And a pool.
And a pool.
And a pool.
Small dreams.
When I first left GameStop, that was the one thought in my head is I don't want to work retail anymore, and I want an Alfa Romeo in my driveway, and I want a pool in my backyard. Those are my two wants. So anytime I think of one, the other
you
one.
left GameStop, and you kind of just didn't work. So
yeah. Depression's a fickle bitch there.
But on a lighter note, we'll see you next week at Myth and Ztories.
Produced by
There we go.
Eclipse.
Yeah.
Produced by Eclipse. Yeah.
I'm still thinking, I'm trying to get the audio right because I listened to some of the other ones and I'm playing while you guys are talking. And the game audio was quite loud, kind of
So much louder
overpowered.
than
Yeah. So I turned the
So-
game sound down to like 3 on this one. But then
There you
I missed the first 15 minutes of it, I think. So you have to do all the episodes over again.
Okay. Well, we'll just
I still
go
have
back.
the notes. I still have the notes.
So I've still got my question board. My what is this
Yeah.
and why is this? Like, yeah, no, we can definitely go through it. Yeah, because like the 9, that's gonna be a whole episode. We're gonna
yeah.
totally redo the 9. Like that's a definite episode because that ties in with the Awoken. And
Yep.
oh my God, man, there are so everything. This entire universe. I don't even think
And
it's centered
it's-
around the Guardians anymore. I think it's centered around the Awoken.
And it's all so wonderfully. And I've said this before when we were talking for something else. Even this lore from Forsaken, like old, quote unquote old stuff, is perfectly in line with stuff we're learning about now. Like the
Absolutely.
fact that the description of the Exodus Green going through the darkness the darkness attacking is so similar to the Glycon breaching the event horizon to reach the deep. Like they have to have a team behind the scenes like Disney does with Star Wars that just
very
goes
small
through and
Very,
is like,
very small
okay,
team.
make sure everything is consistent.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
did you guys ever do one on the either Dark Future or I think the lore book was called Unveiling or something? The one where the Traveler
Nope.
and like them are.
We haven't yet. Believe me, it's all on the list somewhere.
Yep. It's every we're gonna hit as many topics as we can, as hard as we can. Like this next season, if it really is 6 months, trust me, we're gonna have some shit to talk about.
Oh
If
yeah.
it really is 6 months, I'm gonna kill myself because we're gonna run out of
Because we're gonna run so many raids into the ground, and everyone's gonna have the perfect roll of everything.
But they might have the featured raid next season.
I am hoping
should.
so. I
Dude,
hope it's.
I want
and I
that
hope
so
it's a
bad.
rotating. I hope it's a rotating
It
thing.
better
Yeah.
I have to
fucking
think it will
rotate,
be.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it was back in D1. Like I remember one week it was do this challenge in this raid, and you get even more rewards out of it, more than just what you would get from doing the challenge mode. And then like the next week was like do it out of that raid, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I would love to see them do that. I don't see any reason why. I mean, we already know they're working on it because they said so unintentionally.
In a twab.
Yep.
Well,
Not-
yeah, they
not
said
even
so a
in
little
patch
earlier than
notes.
Or a
intended.
patch note. Yeah, that's what I
In
meant.
patch notes, and then was like, oopsies.
He's got a
Remove
patch
patch
note.
note
Ignore
spoiler.
They have it already finished.
Control-
You know, it's
Control
already
Z.
done. They're just waiting to push it.
Control Z, undo. It's not how the internet works, friends. You post it, and it's there forever.
But
That's what I've always loved, the concept of deleted tweets, because that's not a real thing.
yeah, No.
That is never a real thing. As soon as that thing goes live, boom, that is instantaneously everywhere, all at the same time.
Something I found
the
kind of
internet
weird.
is the Vex.
Close.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
Something I found weird is that Zokuje like posted like a breakdown of his video like on Reddit, like on the Destiny the Game Reddit.
Yep.
And it was taken down. Like, what the fuck, Bungie?
I think. Well, Bungie didn't take it down off the subreddit. That's independent of them. But I think the subreddit has rules for self-promotion.
Oh.
I know. Yeah, I know. But like, I wish it would just stay because I wanted to read it.
Somebody's got a clip somewhere. You know they do.
I'm sure
Gotta do a little digging.
It exists somewhere. He probably posted it elsewhere as well. But yeah. I mean, I get why it exists. They don't want the subreddit to just turn into a bunch of content creators going, hey, check out my latest video.
Check out my latest video, bro.
Hey, bro. Look what I did.
Look what I can do with Photoshop. I didn't realize this. Apparently Adobe Photoshop is like the most used
don't
editing
even
software.
get
Like,
me started.
Why?
And it's not free.
Why?
Oh, it is
Why
so
it even...
far away from free. Okay, so my college.
Wait, should I stop broadcasting?
Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
In case we lose a sponsor here.
Adobe